Oh hello, this is another video that I'm going to tell myself is going to be short and easy, only to finish editing and realize that it is just as long as the last video where I told myself the exact same thing. So here we are, Sonic Generations, arguably the peak of the 3D Sonic Marathon to some people, and a game that I used to play the hell out of back when I was in middle school, so I definitely remember why, although I don't really remember a lot about the game. I haven't really felt the desire to revisit it. In fact, recently when I think about it, a lot of the thoughts I can think of are fairly unremarkable. But who knows, maybe that's just because it's been like longer than I'm willing to admit since I've actually sat down and played through this game, so let's do that right now and see if that changes. A game made for Sonic's 20th birthday and one that started development right after Unleashed. Looking back, with how spread thin I know Sonic Team is nowadays, it's nuts how many projects were in the works at the same time back in the day. Unleashed, Black Knight, Colors, and Generations all released only a few years after each other. It's a far cry from how little resources they get now. But anniversary games have a bit of a hit and miss record. Sonic Adventure 2 was the 10th anniversary game, and this game moves me in ways that I can't even put into words. But Sonic 06 was the 15th anniversary game, and this game moves my bowels. Well, let's be fair, this game was 5 years old by the time Generations came out. I mean, who in their right mind would still be dwelling on a game that old at that point, especially with how many games came out in between? It's ridiculous. Right? Unlike Sonic Colors, this game was meant to mainly appeal to the core fan base and is a mix of everything from Sonic's past. We're back on HD consoles, this time the only Nintendo version being the 3DS version, which warrants a marathon on its own. This game opens up with some good old Green Hill Zone, but at the end Sonic gets snatched up by this mysterious monster. Then we cut to modern day, where it's Sonic's birthday and the same beast attacks him and sucks in all of his friends. Sonic waking up in a void and just starts running around because the fuck else you gonna do? Though it's almost like he has memory loss or something because he doesn't recognize Green Hill for some reason. Maybe his memories were fucked with, but it's never brought up why Sonic and Tails only have vague feelings of familiarity with these places until later where they just straight up remember them. Eventually, the classic Sonic and Tails meet with their modern counterparts and the Tailses? Both Tails figure out that Sonic can bring color back to these places and Chaos Emeralds by just running super fast. So Sonic and Sonic run through the rest of their memories, freeing their friends from the fate of being white and collecting Chaos Emeralds from rival battles with characters who should have bigger priorities. You know, now that I think about it, why isn't Silver more involved with the story? His whole thing is being from the future, and that future also just didn't happen. Why is Crisis City here? Is it because Sonic's, soul remembers it or something? None of this is brought up, and that's probably because they wanted to keep the game's story simple, and let's be real, who fucking cares about the continuity of 06 working with this game that exists purely to be a celebration? It's just a jog down memory lane where at the end you find out that Eggman found the Time Meter after Colors and recruited Dr. Robotnik from the past to use its power to destroy Sonic. Super Sonics battle it out with the Time Meter and they both go back to their respective times. That's pretty much how abrupt it is. The fight isn't engaging at all or even interesting or challenging. Even the boss's theme is forgettable. A lame supersonic boss track. Can they do that? Is that even legal? Man, you thought Colors had a simple plot? I almost forgot this game even had cutscenes. Hell, Sonic doesn't even talk in the scenes where he frees his friends. It's pretty clear the story's just loose context for the gameplay of revisiting these stages in both classic and new fashion. They try to air up the mystery of the Time Meter by not revealing it to be Eggman and even having it kidnap classic Robotnik after the Death Egg robot boss, but I mean, come on. The game itself is the reason it's so highly regarded. Each set of zones covers a different era of Sonic. Green Hill Chemical Plant and Sky Sanctuary with a Metal Sonic rival boss fight for Classic, Speed Highway, City Escape, Seaside Hill, and a Shadow rival boss fight for the Adventure era, and Crisis City, Rooftop Run, Planet Wisp, and a Silver rival boss fight for modern Sonic. All zones we've seen before, but completely redone to fit with both classic and boost gameplay. Act 1 of each zone being a classic stage, which really just means 2D Sonic with a spin dash and pretty much nothing else. It still kind of just feels like modern physics, but in 2D, which is fine, but some of the level design just feels like it's more suited for the classic physics.
The spin dash is also just straight up busted. You can blast through so much of the stages without even trying, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't extremely fun. The modern acts are more boost stages, this time more like Unleashed than Colors was, though it's once again hard to get used to the homing attack being on X because I'm so goddamn used to it being on Square from Unleashed. And this is a whole lot like Unleashed in every other way, so it's very easy to get that mixed up. The levels are a bit more open than Unleashed, and there's a bit more to explore. While I still prefer the way the boost feels in the daytime levels from Unleashed, I think this game has better level design overall and is a bit more visually interesting, but maybe that's just the Sonic fan in me enjoying seeing old level themes in HD, and this game strikes a good middle ground between the speed and flow from Unleashed and the straight up platforming from Colors. There are skills you can unlock and put into multiple loadouts from doing some of the challenges, which I kept forgetting to do, and there are a lot of challenges for every zone. I didn't do all of them, just the required ones, but with all this stuff, it's easily the most replayable game so far, as I think the quality is very consistent throughout the whole game. Though I don't like what they did to the ranking system. Now it's pretty much only based on your time and just not dying at all. So I don't really feel compelled to try and get better or memorize the levels or find alternate pathways because the S ranks are very, very generous. Most of the time the only thing holding me back from an S rank is dying. I just do not feel incentivized to explore the stage outside of red rings, which I forget are even part of this game until I find one most of the time. But all of the collectibles stay optional this time as opposed to the medals, and there's a lot of stuff to unlock that's just great for Sonic fans, and like Sonic Colors, it's just fun. Unleashed will always hold as my favorite boost game, but this game does it the best easily and it's very easy to recommend. My biggest issue is there's just not much more to it than that. It's not better than Unleashed because it made some huge improvements. It's just a better structure, expanded level design, and not having a divisive gameplay style for half the game. It's a lot of fun, but there's not much more to say about it. But it's definitely a Sonic fan's Sonic game. It's so cool seeing so many iconic moments from these levels reimagined as booster classic stages. It makes the Adventure era stages and the Crisis City level easy high points as they've never been in a classic or boost game. It kinda makes you wish there were third acts that played like Adventure 1 and 2, but that would just be asking too much. There's tons of references to characters and games, challenges that have you utilizing the abilities of other characters, time attacks, red rings. Like I said, there's so much to do here that you'll want to replay these levels even after doing everything because it's just fun.
Its only shortcoming is being so short. It's really fun, but outside of that, to me anyway, it's pretty unremarkable. I'm struggling to write a decent length video about it because I genuinely don't know what else I can say. Everything this game does good, another game did good, and I explained in depth why I like it there. And the things it did bad really don't matter and just boil down to things being absent that, oh, it would have been super cool if this was in the game.
Like, a lot of games don't get representation outside of music and art. Classic Sonic only has a third of the bosses modern Sonic does, and there's no classic characters other than Sonic and Tails. But that all just goes against why I think this game is so good. It's simple, it knows what it is, and it doesn't overstep beyond that. It's only 9 zones, but it's 9 extremely fun and well-designed zones. This game can be very addicting. It's the only game I've considered fully completing just for my sake because it's so simple. Even my favorite Sonic games have parts that I don't look forward to and sometimes are just straight up bad. And while I don't think this game has any of the highs those games do, there's no part of this game that I feel like stands out as a low point, and that makes it way easier to approach and revisit time and time again, even if I think that those other games are technically better.
I can only hope that whenever Shadow Generations comes out, that it doesn't stick out badly as part of the package. From what little we've seen so far, it's very clear that they knew better than to really touch the base game. So hopefully the second half of that game, that is the main advertisement, can live up to being packaged with what is very easily one of the highest points in 3D Sonic. But that's still a long ways away. And we're nearing the end of the 3D Sonic Marathon. There will be other Sonic Marathons, but right now I'm getting a little sick of the color blue. But unfortunately, we are well past the peak when it comes to 3D Sonic. On the bright side, there's only 2 games left outside of Frontiers, which, as I said, that's gonna be a fucking video essay. I've already written most of the script. It's like fucking 55 pages so far, and I'm not even done. Why do I do this to myself? That's a rhetorical question. Don't answer that. The answer is that I'm a fucking idiot. Next up for the marathon part of 3D Sonic, where I'm going to keep pretending that Frontiers is way away and I don't have to really start crunching on that, is a game that I actually have a pretty lengthy history with. So join me next time when we look at Sonic Lost World for the Wii U. Now make like Sonic and get lost.